We are two besties who are definitely obsessed with each other, and we are also obsessed with empowering you to become the CEO of your healthy lifestyle.
In 2021, we launched
Vedgecation!
to share our enthusiasm for plant-based living with the world. Veggies, education. I'm your host, Brittany Jones. This is my friend, Leiah.
When my health took a turn and I couldn't get any answers, I found the solution in the food that I ate. I went plant-based long before it was cool.
Speaking of answers, if Leiah is the unofficial expert, I'm definitely the ask-spert. Since I was flexitarian in 2018, my hunger for learning about plant-based living has only grown.
A healthy lifestyle doesn't have to be boring. We're spicing things up and finding so many reasons to laugh every day.
Stay tuned to the show you didn't even know you were missing. You just might find yourself Vedgecated. What does that mean?
Guess you'll just have to watch the show to find out. Welcome back. I'm your host, Leiah.
I'm your favorite host, Brit, with my Vedgecation attire that she copied me.
I only copy perfection.
You must be watching Vedgecation.
I just gave you a compliment.
I know.
You were
the
so
world
surprised.
has got to be ending.
You were so surprised. You were like, am I in the right show?
I know, you stunned me. You can do it more often, you know.
To be fair, when the cameras aren't on, I do compliment her.
She does.
Yeah.
She undresses me with her eyes. It's really uncomfortable.
That's actually the opposite of what happened today. She looked at me like I was straight up meat, like not even plant-based meat. It was like animal-based.
Pheromonal.
And then I had to
You must be looking real good today. You're welcome.
snackalicious.
Snatched and snackalicious.
Okay, what are we talking about today?
Well, I know you've had quite a journey with your health.
Yes.
And you've learned some things.
Lots of things. I mean, it's just been so helpful for my business, so I'm really, really grateful for it. Although when I do think about it, you know, sometimes it does make me emotional and make me want to cry because it's been tough.
Yeah, you've had a lot of hard moments.
Yeah.
So you got diagnosed with SIBO. Turned out it wasn't SIBO.
Correct.
You had all these issues with your back. I remember at one
Skin
point you were
issues.
like, I can't have nuts. I think it's gluten.
Yeah.
At a certain point feeling like a little defeated because you were eating so clean, you were working out, you drink more water than anybody I've ever met.
Yeah.
And like, none of
Nothing
it's
was
working.
And I think that's where everyone always thinks it's food and it's exercise. And I don't believe that anymore. Food and exercise, you know, of my top 10 of things that you can do for your health, it's actually more near the bottom of the list because there's your nervous system, right? Your trauma response, how often you're in fight or flight. Do you feel safe in your own body? Which, by the way, I'm still working on.
Me too, girl.
And I think the majority of us are, if we haven't fully processed who we are. And, you know, we use alcohol for numbing, we use weed for numbing, we use prescription drugs for numbing, we use sex for numbing, you know, and I just think we're living in a world of a lot of people who are hurting and they're trying to numb the pain. And for me, it was, I had gone to doctor after doctor and everyone kept telling me, right, there's something wrong with you. So when my husband and I, you know, we haven't had children yet. So when we were trying, you know, thinking of getting pregnant, I just said, everything that you have for the mothers who are watching or soon to be mothers or wanting to be mothers, everything that you have before you get pregnant gets passed on. Whether it's high cholesterol, whether it's a high blood pressure, or whether it is, you know, skin issues. Like your child is going to be more predisposed to have that if you have it. So we don't really think about in the prepping for pregnancy.
What do you need to heal from before you bring another life?
Yeah. And so for me, unselfishly, I just really wanted to set our child up to be really healthy and not go through what I went through because it was debilitating in terms of, you know, not wanting to wear tank tops. Well, I had skin issues, you know, so it would look like either a complete rash all the way up the back or it would look like acne. Some of it was very painful, very itchy, and really the only response I got from dermatologists was, go on Accutane.
And you are somebody that does not really believe in medicine. You believe in like more holistic healing. But I remember there was a certain point in time where you were almost considering going on the Accutane because it was just that bad and nothing holistic was working.
Yeah, but then I kept thinking about, it wasn't just my back. I was depressed, and I always say check on your happy friends, because to the outside world, I'm the happiest person on the planet. But inside, I kind of felt like I was dying, and just my spirit was dead. And I just, I couldn't be the person that I wanted to be. And I couldn't show up in my marriage and my relationships and be this happy person, because I was like, something is not working here. I don't think I wore a pair of pants for 7 years because of the bloating. And everyone was just looking at me like that's completely normal. It is not normal for you to bloat so bad at the end of the day you can't button your pants. It's not normal for it to be painful and, ascending and huge. It is absolutely not normal.
And we have to be our own health advocates.
Correct.
So even if you're going to doctors and you're talking to professionals and people are telling you something that is contrary to what you're experiencing, like, you have to advocate for yourself and you have to push. And then, ultimately the hope is that you figure out what the problem is. And actually, in your case, you did figure out exactly what the problem was. And actually, in the next segment, we are going to take a little break. But when we come back, Leiah, you're going to open up about exactly what the problem was, and maybe we'll hear a little bit about how you were able to resolve it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. We're always a work in progress, but we'll be right back. Have you ever gotten Brian a Travis Matthew hoodie?
No. Who the hell is Travis Matthew?
Exactly.
Do you consider yourself a mold expert? That's a good one.
I never thought I would be, but here I am.
Thanks for sticking with us. You are watching Vedgecation, and we are talking to my bestie about somewhat of an emotional topic. We're both trying really hard not to cry.
Yeah, because our makeup looks good.
We look too cute to be in tears.
We only look cute like 6 times a year now, specifically for you guys when we film.
But we were talking about your health journey, and it did get emotional, and I've been there to witness some of those really tough times, and you're like one of the strongest people I know. So like, to see you cry the very first time, I was like, something's like really, really wrong.
Yeah.
But before we went to break, we were talking about how you have come to realize exactly what the problem was. So what was the problem?
Yeah, so the problem was essentially mold toxicity. So the house that we were living in, every house, coincidentally, the house I grew up in when I was younger, 100% there was mold. It was a
old house, probably
100-year-old farmhouse. And then I moved, coincidentally, to still older buildings. They always smelled of must. I was like, if you live in Michigan, everything is musty, right? And then we moved to Kansas City, humidity capital of the world. So I did really well in a couple of houses that we lived there that were brand new, but never put the connection together of, could it be where I was living?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think made you realize, I need to explore a different angle? I've tried all these external factors. Let me look at my environment.
So the interesting thing is, I would love to say like, go to any naturopath and they would figure it out. But the reality is I went to 3 naturopaths. 2 of them blamed it on me being plant-based.
Dang.
And the other one just didn't listen to me at all. So it's not even about, just going to see a naturopath. Like I said, I could have given up. And to be honest, I wanted to give up. So I finally found a naturopath in California who listened to me to the point where I wrote out my entire life story. And so the interesting thing about mold is there are urine tests and then there are blood tests. So a blood test is always going to be more accurate, because if you've been in mold for a really long time and you take a urine test, chances are your body's not going to excrete all of it. So when I initially took the urine test, we thought I only had Aspergillus. So I didn't test positive for any of the other molds. But fast forward, I don't know, probably 11 months, I'd been on antifungals, I'd been on prescription antibiotics, and it wasn't going away. And she was like, well, let's do a blood test. And then I tested high positive for almost every single mycotoxin.
Oh my gosh. Mycotoxins are molds. Wow.
So there's the top 12 to 13 are, those are the most common mycotoxins you'll see in your house, in old buildings, water damaged buildings. And I just think that now we're living where it's an area of like airtight houses and everyone thinks that's amazing. Well, it's also a breeding ground for mold.
Yeah.
Finished basements, breeding ground for mold. So there's certain things now that I'm really educating people on And there is a genetic component related to mold, although even if you don't have this genetic component, you can still get mold toxicity if you are in a place with high amounts of mycotoxins or mold for a long period of time. So our worst house that we lived in was actually in Leesburg when we were living here.
Shocker.
Yeah.
That's where I live.
And what had happened is every year we were renting this really cute condo, right? And it looked beautiful, whatever. Again, not a great thing for mold because the water pipes, you're sharing everything. There's sweating of the air conditioning units. It's just a breeding ground again. And so every year the floor would rot in our living room area, in our kitchen living room. And he would just come in and replace the floor. Never did I ask myself,
why does it keep happening?
why does it keep happening? And as I remember, as we were leaving now, hindsight's 2020, that the entire downstairs bathroom, the mold had started to eat through the bathroom wall. We never think about our house could be potentially making us sick.
Yeah. Do you think the pandemic had anything to do with you coming to that realization? Maybe because you weren't able to leave?
Yeah, so we moved out of the house and I started to get a little bit better. I remember it was when we went and filmed in St. Louis and I was like, oh, I think I'm starting to finally turn a corner.
Yeah.
And then I hit a stalling point. And all of a sudden my husband started gaining weight. And neither one of us were sleeping at night. And we found mold in our new house in Colorado, which is far less common.
Yeah.
Because it's not super humid and you don't typically find as much mold. Although you can find mold anywhere, by the way. Fungus is really, really smart.
Fungus is smart?
Yes.
So it's just gonna find you wherever you go?
Mold is convenient as hell. Mold is oh, opportunity, I'm gonna grow.
Well, there's something that you said that's knowing you, I'm ooh, that's concerning. You said you almost wanted to give up. What exactly did you mean?
I mean, even when I was going through the detox portion, I thought the mold portion, living with it, was bad. Yeah, detoxing it was 100 times worse. And there were times when I've never not been a person who can't get up and go to the gym or allowed my depression to kind of feed into me. And, detoxing mold was the only time I've ever been suicidal. Yeah, it's the most hopeless thing. But when it's crossing over the brain barrier, and you're detoxing these things out, you just feel like there is absolutely no hope. And you just cry and cry and cry. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, okay, I don't know what happened yesterday. You feel better. But I don't think anyone prepares people who are going through it, not the physicians, because if you haven't experienced it yourself, you can't help other people through it because you don't get it.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the most valuable things that I've been able to bring into helping people who are going through it is just the support and the space to go, I get it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you have transitioned everything that you've learned into your business and helping others. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more Vedgecation. We just looked away awkwardly.
That's typically what we do. We're like, yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks, love. Welcome back to Vedgecation. I am sharing my mold story.
I know. At this point, do you consider yourself to be a mold expert? Everything that you've gone through, everything that you've learned?
I never wanted that title. Sometimes I'll call myself the moldiest girl in the room. I hope I'm not still. I think I've detoxed a lot, so I may not be the moldiest. But I definitely know so much, and with each client that I work with that is going through something similar, I will tell you almost every person that I've ever tested on females specifically have tested positive for some level of mycotoxins.
So once you find out you got the mycotoxins, you have mold in your blood, then what? What do you do?
Yeah, so then you have to work on, first and foremost, do I have candida or not? Meaning, do I have a yeast fungal overgrowth? One of my favorite physicians, Dr. Jess, she always talks about yeast, candida and mold are kind of like cousins. Where there's candida, there's almost always going to be mold behind it. So not always the case, but it's pretty safe bet.
Okay, so then the mold and the candida makes they come together and make it worse for your body? Or?
Yeah, so essentially like it was growing a fungal factory in my stomach, which is really wonderful. So you can,
That's a nice visual.
Isn't it though? You can have so many different symptoms, brain fog, not being able to sleep at night, having to urinate all the time. You can go two ways. For me, I lost a bunch of weight. I was much, much thinner when I was living here. Or you can go the opposite way and you can't lose any weight.
Yeah.
Again, skin issues, bloating, food sensitivities. I kept giving up more foods, thinking it was a different food.
Yep.
And nothing helped because again, fungus is very smart and it's like, oh, you want to eat this food? I'm going to hate that food too. So I just kept taking more and more out while not really seeing any results.
So now that you know and you've done the detox, are there any foods that you at a certain point thought you couldn't eat and now you can?
Yeah, so I mean, for a while I wasn't eating any fruit because I was reacting so horribly to fruit so mold essentially feeds off of carbohydrates.
Okay.
Right? So
everything is carbs though, right?
being
like everything we eat?
Being a plant-based person, yeah, it is primarily running on carbs. So there was probably a 4, 5, 6 month stint where I was like, am I going to be able to continue to be plant-based? Because I just couldn't clear this. But what ended up happening, right, is I wasn't on the right combination of antibiotics. With mold, you have to kill here as well as
in the nose?
Yeah, because mold will live in your sinus cavities.
Because you're breathing it in because it's in the air. Oh.
And it affects everyone different. Sometimes it affects their lungs. Interestingly enough, when I lived in the house that I grew up in, I got bronchitis 3 times a year. Was it affecting my lungs then?
Yep.
Yes. But the house in Virginia, I didn't have that issue. So first thing would be to work on killing the candida, killing the mold, and then, doing some herbal antifungals, really good probiotic, and then doing an elimination diet for an extended amount of time. And I kind of do it in phases with people just based on their symptoms.
Okay.
Some people don't have any gut issues when it comes to mold.
God bless them.
Yeah. Yes, God bless y'all. But for those of us who do, there's kind of phases where maybe initially we're not going to do any carbs as low as we possibly can and just focus on vegetables and protein.
Okay.
And then start to add in.
Have you ever helped anybody through a mold toxicity detox that was not plant-based?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it is easier for them. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
Why? Because they can eat meat and vegetables. I mean, it is going to be easier if you do eat meat. I will say that. Does that mean I'm going to go eat a steak? No. But I truly think I wouldn't have been able to figure out my culprit of this if I wouldn't have been plant-based, because what being plant-based did was speed it up. So it almost made it worse, which made the symptoms, I was finally like, oh.
Something's really wrong here.
Correct.
So you actually, going through all of this, you started talking about it on social media, you went viral on TikTok, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views on several videos talking about mold.
Yeah.
And you started to learn people have a lot of questions about mold.
So many questions, and I think so many people are struggling. And I talk about depression, like depression is never the end all. Question your doctor if the first thing it is, they say is to go on depression medication. There's always a reason why that's happening, why your body's not producing enough serotonin. So I think it's just an outlet, number one, for someone to hear. I posted a video about my worst symptom while detoxing mold, which was the bouts of hopelessness and depression and, suicidal thoughts, which I'd never had before in my life.
Yeah.
If a physician hasn't gone through it, they don't know how to help you.
Yeah.
They don't know how to relate.
What are some of the most common questions you have gotten, whether it's through clients or through social media, specifically about mold?
I hate to say this, but mold is definitely a rich person's disease. It is very expensive to detox from it. The supplements are expensive. I think everyone, the Lord upstairs, that I had the money to figure it out. And so now my goal is to create a mold course, to create some cheaper avenues for people who can't afford thousands of dollars worth of supplements and go, okay, you can do this.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with mold right now and you have no other outlet, sweat. Find a way to profusely sweat every single day, in and out. Find an antifungal, try and, start utilizing an herbal antifungal. see where that gets you. You know, there's things that you can do if you do have a low budget, and reach out to people like me for support.
Or find a bag of money.
Correct.
Okay. We're going to take another break and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up. Please stick with us. We've got a little more Vedgecation right when we come back.
You just looked at me like meat and didn't say anything.
Because you look good.
I was like, why do you keep undressing me?
With my eyes.
Correct.
Should look like a snack.
Yesterday I said, why don't I ever want to look like a snack anymore? All I want to do is eat snacks. Are you meditating on being better? Welcome back to Vedgecation and my mold story.
The moldiest girl in the room is moldy no more.
I mean, we're getting close. I haven't tested, but you can see vast improvements before you even test, so.
Speaking of improvements, over the break we were talking about something that you had experienced that you forgot to mention, which to me was fascinating because I was experiencing the same thing, and you told me it's because I'm plant-based, I don't eat eggs, so I'm missing choline.
Yeah, definitely could be that, or could be mold toxicity. It used to be the running joke in my family and also with my husband that I couldn't remember a darn thing. I couldn't remember anything. They'd be like, what'd we have for dinner last night? And I'd be like, I don't know. Something good, I think.
Memory fog, brain fog,
Yeah.
could be a component of mold toxicity.
100%. So, you know, we look at, there's going to be so much. There's always trends, right? And this is, in my opinion, going to be the next health boom of root cause of so many diseases is a built up of mycotoxins. I was working with this one guy who kept chronically getting bronchitis and like, he was just so sick all the time. And I was thinking mycotoxins, but his house tested, everything was fine there. It was in his work truck. So every day he was driving his work truck and he was breathing in black mold from his work truck. And, you know, companies don't want to fix it. It costs money.
This feels like a stupid question. I'm going to ask it anyway.
That's totally fine. I love them.
If the mold is in the car and you roll down the windows,
Is it better?
doesn't it just like the mold goes out?
It is 100% better, right? Because just like at home, I tell everyone this, your homes are toxic, you guys, they are. So as much as you can have your windows open and fresh air blowing in, the better. My husband and I have talked about, you know, when we build our dream home, like we're doing concrete floors. We're not even doing wood. We're like, as far as we can get it away from anything that can mold, the better. And you know, as far as cleaning mold, you do need experts to come in. It is not safe for you to clean it on your own. And a lot of people think bleach will do it, and bleach does not kill mold.
Nope. Know that for a fact.
Yep.
Is concrete a common construction material for houses? I've never heard of concrete floors except for maybe in jail.
It's interesting, and again,
I've never been to jail.
I think that there's a new boom coming of builders, and I think there's going to be mold approved builders. So this is going to be builders who are really versed in mold toxicity and want to build homes that are going to be far less prevalent to produce mold.
I like that.
Yeah, there's never going to be a foolproof because like I said, mycotoxins are,
It's everywhere.
yeah.
And it's natural. So it's like trying to get rid of grass.
Correct.
I feel like.
Yeah. But, you know, there's a lot of things you have to get rid of in your house. You know, luckily for us, one of the best things we did is we didn't hardly bring anything with us from Virginia.
All your moldy furniture.
Yeah.
You at least weren't bringing, because obviously you're in Virginia versus Colorado. It's going to be different types of mold.
Correct.
And then you don't know what happens when they kind of get together and hang out.
Doesn't really matter. You know, if you have a mattress, right, it's going to live within that mattress because that's a porous substance. So you want to get rid of the mattress, get a new mattress.
This is going to make me check all my stuff because I feel like there's probably mold everywhere.
I feel like we could do an entire episode on how to be preventative towards mold and some of the things that you could do there. So maybe we can do a follow-up episode.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leiah. I feel very Vedgecated, as I always do, but this was extra special because you shared so much and you got so raw, and I'm so proud of you where you are now.
Thanks, love.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode. Stay tuned. We've got much more this season for you here on Vedgecation.
And then we talk to each other like we actually like each
Yes.
other.
Not awkwardly staring off into the sunset.
You're still a little awkward. You haven't moved your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.